बोले रमापति महादेव की जय। सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय। Prabhaktojan, Shubh Swagatam, and welcome to this evening's Sandhya. As we join this evening with this most beautiful family once more again in celebrating the life of the father of this home. This evening we are about to journey to the depths of the Sri Ramacharita once more again to join in a beautiful katha. But before doing so, let us all sit upright and let us clasp our hands. Let us bow our heads as we close our physical eyes. We join in pratna, we join in pray. Hey Prabhu, Hey Sarva Sachitanand, Nirakar Sarveshwara Koti ko bharambat namaskar karta ho. Prabhu, may you continue to guide us on this path of life. And may you continue to lead us to mukti, to moksha, we pray. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari Om. He Ram, He Ram, He Ram. हमें दया करो। श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमो नमः। ओम श्री गुरु चरण कमलेभ्यो नमो नमः। श्री गोविंदाय नमो नमः। Salutations to Lord Shri Ganesh. Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirviganam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Gajananam Bhutaganari Sevitam Kapita Jambu Parasara Vakshatam Umasutam Shoka Vinashakarakam Namami Viganeshwara Pada Pankajam. Salutations to the Holy Ramayana. Varananam Marata Sanganam Rasanam Chandasamapi Mangalanam Chakartaro Vande Vani Vinayako. Jehe Sumirata Siddhi Hoi Gananayaka Kari Varavarana Kahano Ano Prahasoi Bodhirasi Shubha Guna Sarana Moka Hoi Vacha Panguchare Giri Varagrahana Chaso Hirdaya Kriman Brahho Sakala Kali Valadayana Nirasaro Rahusham Taduna Aruna Bhare Janayana Kumdayendo Samade Umaramana Karunayana Chahe Dina Parani Varaso Kriparavi Karani Kara Bando Guru Parakanja Kripa Sindhu Nara Rupa Hare Mahamoha Tamapuja Jaso Vajana Ravi Karani Kara Pavana Pavana Kumar Rasurar Varano Rago Varavimalayasha Chorayaka Valchan Gunahina Tanujanike Sumiro Baba Nakumar Balapuri Vedya Devu Muhi Arahu Kare Shavikar Siyapati Ramachandra Ki Jai Umapati Mahadev Ki Jai Mitrapan Krishna Chandra Ki Jai Odisha Jagannath Ki Jai Pavan Sutta Hanuman Ki Jai Siyapati Ramachandra Ki Jai Sharanam Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram Pure Siyapati Ramachandra Ki. Once more again, Swagatam and welcome to this evening's Sandhya. As you take the opportunity to say special Swagatam as well to all joining with us via Media Concepts 29 Facebook page and also my Facebook page, Pundit Shivan Harrypersad. Bhagwan's blessings to all joining with us. This evening, my dear devotees and bhaktas, Katha is taken from the golden pages of the Shri Ram Charitramanas, Ayodhya Kand, where Raja Dasaratha, he's at a very tender age. He's an age of a youth. He has now mastered archery and he wants to test his skills. But he was so great that by the mere sound of anything, he will shoot in that direction and capture whatever was making that sound. Dasaratha, he's the prince of Kosala. And there he goes riding into the Kishkinda and he hears the sound of something drinking water by a river nearby. Whom is this? Or what is this? Goswami Tulsidashi very beautifully, he describes to us and he tells to us what takes place. Jaya Rama Shri Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Sri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Jaya Rama Shri Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Sri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Purajana Parijata Sakala Nirohi Jala Chunayuta Sarvan Mori Jai Rama Shri Rama Jaya Jaya Rama Shri Rama Jaya Rama Jaya Jaya Rama. सोई सब भामते पुरहितकारी दशरथ राकर नारन थारी बोलो जय राम श्री रामा जय जय रामा श्री राम जय रामा जय जय रामा बोलो श्री राम जय रामा जय जय रामा प्रभु श्री राम जय राम जय जय राम श्यावर रामचंद्र की जय. Sarvan Kumar has two parents, they are blind. And the father and mother being blind, he was told by his guru that if we take them in pilgrimage to 108 holy and sacred spots, performing worship, they will gain back their eyesight. So Sarvan Kumar, having these two blind parents, he created two baskets and he placed it on a bamboo. And on one end he placed his mother, on the other he placed his father. Taking them on his shoulder, he is journeying to the Kishkinda. His parents are thirsty. And they ask, Beta, could you bring some water for us to drink to quench our thirst? And Sarvan had a goblet. Taking it to the nearby river, placing the goblet into the river. And as the goblet is filling, my dear devotees, as the goblet is filling, it's creating a sound. Have you ever taken a barrel of water and place a bottle or something in it? And when it's about to fill, you will hear it's making a sound. This is the sound that Dasaratha hears. And he's saying to himself that it's some animal drinking water in the nearby river. He takes the arrow and the bow. He strings it. And whilst he strings the bow and arrow, what he does, he releases it with his mantra. Releasing the arrow, my dear devotees and bhaktas, he is waiting to hear what? To hear the animal bawl. When the animal cry, he will go in that direction. But Dasaratha, my dear friends, he doesn't hear the sound of an animal. When the arrow reaches, what does he hear? He hears the cry, Ma. He hears the cry, Ma. When a child is in pain, when a child is in problem, who is the first one that he calls? Ma. Sarvan Kumar, immediately he felt hurt in his heart. He jumped off the horse and he ran to the river bank. And reaching there, he saw Sarvan lying with the arrow in his chest. He doesn't know what to say. But he holds the head of Sarvan Kumar. And Sarvan, he looks at Dasaratha and he says, O Prince of Kosala, I want you to do me one favor this evening. I want you to take the arrow out of my chest so that I will be able to die peacefully. So I will be able to die peacefully. But before doing so, O Dasaratha, I want you to take this water. Take this water to my parents. They're in the nearby banyan tree. They are blind. And I want you to quench their thirst. And only after quenching their thirst, then tell them what happened to me. But O Dasaratha, I warn you, be very careful. Be very careful how you break this news to them. Because my father, he has a high temper. He's a very holy one. So be careful before he gives you a shrap. And so, Dasaratha, he pulls the arrow out of the chest of Sarvan Kumar, allowing Sarvan to breathe his last breath. He fetches the water and he goes very slowly. He's walking to the banyan tree. And while he's walking to the banyan tree, he's thinking, what am I going to say? How would I tell these parents what I have done? What has happened to their son? Their only hope. And so, whilst Dasaratha is walking and whilst he's thinking and these thoughts are running through his mind, he's reminding us likewise. We must never judge people. We must never assume things. He assumed that it was an animal drinking water. And he released the arrow, and what happened? It shot Sarvan Kumar. When we assume things in life, we make bad decisions. Isn't that so? We must always know the facts, the truth, before making a decision. If he had only known it was Sarvan Kumar, he would have never released that arrow. While he's walking there, he doesn't know how he's going to tell these parents what has happened to their son. He's living in what now? In hurt, in grief, in disappointment. But he finally reaches there. And while he walks closely, the mother could hear the footstep. She could hear the leaves moving. And she calls, "Are Sarvan?" But no one answers. "Sarvan, beta, please tell me it is you." But Dasaratha doesn't know how to answer. He goes before her. He holds the goblet and he places it in her hand. But as he's holding the goblet, the mother passes her hand on his hand and she pulls away. Why? She says, "This isn't Sarvan." She says, "This isn't my son. This is not the hands of my son. Tell me, where is my son?" Goswami Tulsidashi tells to us what takes place through the medium of the Ramayana. Hari ho Rama milana kab hoy, anke savala girhe. Hari ho Rama milana kab hoy, anke savala girhe. Hari ho Rama milana kab hoy, anke savala girhe. माता पिता सुनो भजन बेटा, माता पिता सुत भजन बेटा, पिरुदरनि उधरनाओ, पिरुदरनि उधरना सभा लाग रहे। हरि हो राम मिलन कब होए, अंग सभा हरि हो राम मिलन कब होए, अंग सभा लाग रहे। The mother asks, "Tell me, where is my son? Where is Sarvan? Who are you?" And with a choked voice, he says, "Oh ma, I am Dasaratha, the prince of Kosala. Maya, today I have something to tell you. Please forgive me firstly." He asks for forgiveness. "Ma, maaf karo, may you please forgive me. But I've heard something making a sound by the river, and I thought it was some sort of animal. Practicing my archery, I released the arrow. And ma, it was none other than Sarvan. Maya, my arrow shot Sarvan." The mother begins to cry. And why she cries, my dear devotees and bhaktas? The bhajan says, "Mata putra se pyar kya hai jitna." The love that the mother has for her son, my dear devotees and bhaktas, words can't describe it. The love that a mother has for her children, words could never describe it. But the father, he listens to Dasaratha and he says, "You wicked man, how more wicked could you be to take my only son away from me, my only hope to bring back my eyesight, to allow me to see this world and to serve God? Please take me where the body of my son is." And Dasaratha, he holds the mother, he holds the father, and he's taking them to the bank of the river. What takes place? Goswami Tulsidashi tells to us. Dasaratha bisama moha manaha, Dasaratha bisama moha mana, mata mata manahe mo, mata mata manahe mang sava lag rahe. Hari ho Ram milan kab hoye, ang sava lag rahe. Hari ho Ram milan kab hoye, ang sava lag rahe. Bole Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki jai. My dear devotees and bhaktas, taking the mother and father now to the bank of the river, The mother, as she takes her hand and she passes it over the face of Sarvan, she knew it was her son. She fell on the ground there and tears is flowing from her eyes. And as tears flow from her eyes, the father holds the feet of Sarvan. As he holds the feet of Sarvan, my dear friends, he begins to cry. Why? He says, Sarvan, I thought that you would perform my last rites for me. I never thought that today I would have to do yours. In today's world, likewise, my dear devotees and bhaktas, we see where parents are burying their children. And none of us could imagine that pain. None of us could imagine that. As he holds the feet of Sarvan, he says, my son, you have served me well. You have made me proud today. You are no longer, but you have my blessing, O Sarvan. The love that a father has for his children. He will go out of the way. He may not tell you that he loves you every day. He may not express that love daily, but that love is there, that no one could describe, that no one else could describe for their children. He says, Sarvan, today you have left me, and you leave a mark in my heart today, a space in my heart that no one and nothing could fill. And as he holds the feet of Sarvan, he says, O Dasaratha, today you have created pain for me that will never die. And I will die out of the grief for my son now. Karma Pradanik Samrata. The day will come, O Dasaratha, when you too will have a son, and you too will die out of grief for your son. It is called karma. What goes around, comes around, my dear friends. He says, you too will die out of the grief for your son, and you will experience what I am experiencing today, O Dasaratha. Dasaratha, allow me to perform the rituals for my son. Performing the rituals, my dear friends, bringing closure. The father of Sarvan Kumar died out of grief for his son. Many years have now passed by, and Dasaratha is now the king of Ayodhya. He has not one son, but he has 4. He's old. He wants to hand over the kingdom. Who would he hand over the kingdom to? His eldest son, Shriram. And as he tells to everyone that I am going to hand the kingdom over to Ram, he's the eldest. He's brave. And he shows me the qualities that I'm looking for. Make preparations. And we, of course, Ram will now be the king of Ayodhya. All of the queens, Kekehi Maya, Sumitra, Kausalya Devi, they are all happy. Why? Because Ram is like each and everyone's son in the village. They all treated Ram as though he was their son too. And Ram respected all of the mothers as though they were his biological mother. Shriram teaches us we must always have respect for each other. When you see an elder person, respect them as a mother, a sister, or a daughter. We must give respect in order to gain respect, my dear friends. And so, as Kekehi Maya goes into her chambers, she has an entrusted servant by the name of Mantara. Mantara, my dear friends, she listens to what is taking place. She helped to raise Bharat. She is angry with this decision. And what she says, O Kekehi Maya, why you are allowing Ram to become the king of Ayodhya when Bharat could be the king, your son? Kekehi says, Ram is like my son, O Mantara. So if Ram is the king of Ayodhya, it is just as if Bharat is the king of Ayodhya. In today's world, we all have a mind of our own. And we all make certain decisions as we see things. And then there are people who will come with negative energies and try to influence you otherwise. Mantara says, it will never be the same, O Kekehi. If your Bharat rules Ayodhya, you too will rule Ayodhya. And she begins to think now. Mantara fused her mind with the negative thoughts, and she now begins to think negatively. But she says, Mantara, but how can I do such? And Goswami Tulsidas, she tells to us, as Mantara looks at Kekehi Maya, what she says, we listen to the medium of Ramayana. Jaya Rama Shri Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Sri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Rupata dekamalana ribukula bharata amatana jaya jaya Rama Shri Rama jaya jaya Rama Sri Rama jaya Rama jaya jaya Rama. Mantara says, okay, Kehi, remember when Dasaratha was on the battlefield? And when the wheel of the chariot came out and you held the chariot, so Dasaratha will become successful in the battle? And Dasaratha did. Remember what he told you? Ask for any two boon, any two wish, and it shall be yours. He says at any time in life, you have these two wishes, O Queen, and any time you choose to use them, you shall. Okay, Kehi, now is the time. Now is the time to use these two boon to win this kingdom of Ayodhya. My dear friends and devotees, Kehi begins to smile. She goes into the courtyard. She sees Dasaratha. She says, O Raja. And what she says, we listen to the medium of Katha. Mantara dhari, deri Rama mata hari, bole bhajana samaya anusari. Jai Rama Shri Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama, Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Bolo Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Prabhu Shri Rama Jaya Rama, Jaya Jaya Rama. Kekehi Maya, she goes into the kingdom. She sees Dasaratha standing there. She says, O Raja, remember the two boons that you gave to me on the battlefield? And he says, yes, Maya. And you tell me that any time I choose to use these two boons, feel free to use them. And he says, yes. She says, well, I'm ready. He says, no problem. Ask for whatever it is, and it shall be yours. Why? Dasaratha says, that when you give your word, you must stand and live by your word. She says, O Dasaratha, I want Ram to go into the forest in Banbas for 14 years. Dasaratha felt as though an arrow hit him in his chest, just like the arrow hit Sarvan Kumar. Why 14 years? 14 years is enough time for Ram to be away because the people love Ram, and for Bharat to gain the throne, and for people to grow now that love for Bharat. And she says, O Raja, my second boon, my second wish is for my son Bharat to become the king of Ayodhya. He felt as though a second arrow shot him in his chest. Tears is fill in his eyes, but he says, Raghukula riti sada chaliyaye, prana na jaye, par vachana na jaye. When you give your word, it is near and there just as your breath. When you make a promise, you stand by it. When you give someone your word, my dear friends and devotees, you must honor that and never go against your word. Never. As hard as it is, as painful as it is, he has to stand by his words. He has no choice. He calls Ram. O Ram, it is the wish of your mother Kekehi. It is one of our boon that you go into the forest for 14 years. Ram doesn't ask a question. With clasped hand, he says, O Pita, I will begin to prepare myself. He calls Bharat and he says, Bharat, son, it is your mother's wish that you become the king of Ayodhya. Bharat with clasped hands, he says, Pita, I will only rule this kingdom in the absence of my brother Ram for that 14 years. And when Ram returns to Ayodhya, he shall take back the kingdom, the throne. For the throne rightfully and respectfully belongs to Ram. In today's world, if a brother hears the mother is giving the other brother the deed, what has happened? Jai Bhagwan, court people. Bacchanal. Isn't that so? Here we see where the love of these siblings, where Bharat says, this rightfully belongs to Sri Ram. I will rule for 14 years, but when he returns, he shall take back his throne. We must be fair in life. But many times we know what is right, but we do the wrong things. Because of greed, because of jealousy and hatred and abhiman and ego, we do the wrong thing. And even though we know it's the wrong thing, again because of greed and jealousy, we do it. But my dear friends, as Sri Ram prepares himself and he's about to leave, Bharat goes before Sri Ram. He says, Bhaiya, please give me your paduka, your sandal, your sapat. And Sri Ram asks why. He says, give me a sandal, your paduka, and I will place this on the throne. And by your blessing, O Ram, I will rule Ayodhya. But if you live in the forest in a kutia, I will not live in this kingdom. I will live at the entrance of Ayodhya in a kutia just like you, O Ram. And I will rule Ayodhya from that kutia until the day when you return, then I will return to this kingdom. He says, but Ram, promise me, you will not return 1 minute, a second later than 14 years. Do not let even a day pass by, because I will take my own life. This is the love that he has for his brother. Kekehi sits there, and she's now thinking how what she was influenced to do isn't going to come to pass. But what did it bring? Only chaos and more problems in the kingdom. Only more problems it brought. My dear friends, we must have a mind of our own and never allow anyone to influence you negatively. You make your decisions where you see the best, my dear friends. Because when we make decisions and we take negative advice from others, what does it do? It brings what? Destruction. And whose destruction? Your own destruction. Self-destruction. Ram bows to the feet of his father, his mothers, Kekehi, Kausalya, Sumitra Devi. He's about to leave, and as he goes before Sita Devi says, Oh Ram, I will not live here. I will accompany you to the forest. She says, my marriage vows states that I will always accompany you wherever you go, to make sure you are well taken care of. And so, allow me, Ram, to accompany you. Sita Devi strips herself from all of the jewelry, gems and crown, and she wears a simple orange sari with a rudra bead, and she's about to accompany Ram. She gives up the luxury. Which wife in today's world will do that? Jai Bhagwan. Say, you go, keep well, put odomas, make sure no mosquito bite you. I will sleep in AC and make sure everything good here. Jai Bhagwan. Ram, tears fill in his eyes to see the decision of Sita. Why? He saw the love that she had for him, the commitment to leave all the luxury in Ayodhya and to go and live in a kutia. Lakshman, my dear friends, he says, Bhaiya, I must accompany you to protect you. And Sita Devi, that is my duty. In Satyug, when you came in the form of Vishnu Bhagavan and you lie on the Seshnag was Lakshman, always protecting Lord Vishnu. Sita Devi, Lakshmi Maya, always at the feet of Lord Vishnu. When you came in Dwapar Yuga in the form of Krishna Bhagavan, I was there in the form of Balaram, always at your company. So Prabhu, allow me to journey with you. And Bharat is going there with his bow and his arrow as well. And while these trees set and they are going, the entire village is feeling as though it's getting empty. It's filled with sorrow. And as they leave, Dasaratha, tears flows from his eyes. They go into the forest, creates a beautiful kutia, and they are now residing there. As days go by, Dasaratha is getting more and more sick. As days go by, he's wondering more and more, where is my Ram? Did my Ram eat? Is my Ram comfortable? I'm not seeing my Ram. He will look at the window every day to see if he will see Ram coming by. But he didn't see Ram. Every day goes by, Dasaratha becomes more ill. Finally, he reaches where he's lying on the bed. He can't even stand. But what he does, he chants, Ram, Ram, Ram. His breath is flickering, my dear friends. And Katha tells to us what takes place. Hari ho Rama milan kab hoye, ange savala ge rahe. Hari ho Rama milan kab hoye, ange savala ge rahe. Hari ho Rama milan kab hoye, ange savala ge rahe. Dasaratha there, his breath is flickering in his mouth, my dear friends. And Goswami Tulsidashi, he says as he lies there, he's experiencing a terrible feeling. He sees the Yamadutas coming. He's feeling like a serpent robbed of his jewels and his gems. And so, he lies there and he chants, Rama Rama kahe, kahe Rama Rama kahe. He says, when will my Ram come? He lies there and he's about to die. His breath is flickering, but he chants the name of Shri Ram. And while he chants the name of Shri Ram, very gently, his life leaves his body. As if life leaves the body, my dear friends and devotees, Dasaratha lies there with his eyes open. Why? We would have heard the elders say when someone dies with their eyes open, they wanted to see someone. He wanted to see Ram. He wanted to see his son. And so, as he lies there, the ministers go into the forest to look for Ram. And what takes place? We listen. Hari ho Rama milan kab hoye, ange sabala ge rahe. Hari ho Rama milan kab hoye, ange sabala ge rahe. Hari ho Rama milan kab hoye, ange sabala ge rahe. The ministers goes into the forest. Dasaratha lies there. He died out of what? Grief for his son. Just as the father of Sarvan Kumar told him, the day will come, O Dasaratha, when you will die out of the grief of your son. It is called karma, my dear friends. Sometimes we do things and we feel we don't have to pay for it. Years pass by and we feel we get away. But what a past year, it a meet yet. The day came where he died out of grief for Ram. As he reaches into the forest and the ministers look for Ram and they tell Ram, your father is no longer. Please come and perform his rituals. Shri Ram says, Raghukula riti sada chaliyaye. Prana na jaye para vachana na jaye. He reminds him of the words of his father. When you give your word and make a promise, you stand by it. It is near and dear like your breath. He says, I give my word to remain in the forest for 14 years and I will not return. Go ahead, perform your rituals and I will do what I have to do in the forest. The ministers make preparation. They perform the rituals for Dasaratha. But whilst they perform the rituals for Dasaratha, and they place him upon the chitta, upon the pyre, to be cremated, what did they put with Dasaratha to be cremated? Did they put the kingdom to be cremated? Never. Did they put all the money, all the jewelry? Never. What did they put? What did they give to him? What could he carry with him? He didn't carry the kingdom because the kingdom remained there. He couldn't carry the jewelry, it remained there. The money remained even there. What could he carry with him? When you're born and you come in the world, you come like this, with karma. And when you leave, how you just leave? Empty-handed. What can you carry with you? The good and the bad. Karma pradhan. The good things that you have done, he carries that with him. And the bad things that you have done, he carries that with him. He carries Ram with him because he died with Ram. Bhagavad Gita says, Bhagavan Krishna says, whatever entity a man thinks about at the last moment of death, ever been absorbed in his thought, that and that alone shall he attain, ever been absorbed in his thoughts. What did Dasaratha think about? Ram. And what will he attain? Bhagavan. He attained God. But he's teaching us this evening that never fight and kill for material things. And never become trapped in the Mahamaya of material things. I always tell people, enjoy it to the fullest. A nice home, live comfortable. Drive a nice vehicle, that is your blessing. Buy nice things, that is great. But don't become attached to it. Don't make it your first priority in life. Enjoy this world. God has placed us here to enjoy it. So enjoy it to the fullest. But don't fight and kill for 2 inch land. Because when you're dead, that is remain right here. Don't fight and kill for Mama Bera because that has remained here. Other people let's fight and kill for it. Carry the good and the bad things, my dear friends. Do good so that you will carry good with you when you depart from the world. The bhajan says, Jyoti jana magavaya sadhu, Jyoti jana magavaya sadhu, Jyoti jana magavaya. Jyoti jana magavaya sadhu, Jyoti jana magavaya sadhu, Jyoti jana magavaya. The poet says, oh man, you have thrown away your life in falsehood, running after the temporary things of this world, the Mahamaya. Oh man, please do not be foolishly. Do not live a foolish life, oh man. Oh man, live a dedicated life. To whom? To your parents. Children, live a dedicated life to your parents. Perform your duty towards your parents when they are alive. When they are alive, take care of them. Make sure they get food to eat, water to drink, clothing to wear. Make sure they are well taken care of. When they die, you still have duties to perform. When you die, you perform their rituals. You ensure, just as these children are doing today, just as his wife is doing, ensuring that all of the rituals and offerings are made for the well-being of the soul. That is your duty. That is how you repay your parents for all that they have done for you in life. This is how you repay that debt, so you don't carry karma. My dear friend, the bhajan says, honor your parents, honor your guru, honor this universe. Why? Because in this universe, we live. And in this universe, we depend on what? The elements, the prana, the breath, the air to breathe, the earth. We depend on this earth every day, how we build the house, where we get food to eat. We depend on the rain to survive. So we must honor the universe. Live a truthful life, a life of satya, not a life of truth or lies. Be truthful to yourself. Be honest to yourself and recognize that the day will come when we leave empty-handed this wonderful world. The bhajan says, एक पिता के हम सब लड़के दर्दी हमारे माता मैया दर्दी हमारे माता कुटुंब लब के संग न साथी कल का धन का भाजत साधु कल का धन का भाजत. Dear friends, devotees and bhaktas, Dasaratha is no longer. They perform the rites and the rituals, cremating very beautifully the body of Raja Dasaratha. He is left to nothing now. Ram is about to perform his rituals. He performs his daily obligations. The day of the Bhandara comes and he has to make his obligations and his offerings. He has nothing to make pinda. What he uses? He takes planting and he boils it with black till and he creates ball that is called pinda. And this is what he offers. The pinda is called a food ball. And this is offered to the priest. And once he creates this and is about to make his offering, he goes into the forest to gather some ingredients to perform his rituals. But there is a specific time where the bhojan should be offered, where a ritual should terminate it. There is a specific time. Otherwise, there's a specific time to do everything. The time is passing. And once the time passes by, my dear friends and devotees, Dasaratha, he's waiting in the form of the priest. He waits there in the form of the priest. Time is passing. Sita doesn't see Ram returning. There's a specific time to do everything. A specific time for the puja to terminate, a specific time for the food to be taken out at noon between 12 and 1. Today, we see where, of course, now Dasga, the shaving. But Jai Bhagwan. Recently, I went to perform a Bhandara. These days, we are performing Bhandara almost every day. And the karma karta, the person performing rituals asked me, said, Baba, what time should we take out the food for the shaving? We should have taken out the food. I said, well, between 12 and 1 at least. He said, well, Baba, we take out the food about 3 o'clock. I said, Jai Bhagwan, you give dinner? So he said, well, when we went to the Mahapat, he had about 10 to do. He takes 15 minutes to do it, but half an hour and a half to talk. And when we asked him, Baba, but it's after 12, he said, don't worry, it's after 12 in Trinidad, but it's at 12 somewhere else in the world. So don't worry about that. My dear friends, there's a time to do everything. There are specific time for every single thing. Just like there's a time and a place for everything. My dear friends, the time is passing. Sita Devi, she knows about noon. What should I do? Ram hasn't returned, but she remembers her marriage vows. One of your marriage vows, according to Sanatana Dharma, if your husband is about to perform Pitri worship, worship to the ancestors, you have asked for consent to be part of that worship. That is one of your marriage vows. Sita Devi prepares. She performs the rituals. She offers the bhojan. The ancestors, the pitras arrive there and bestow their darshan. And once they bestow their darshan, Sita Devi said, but Ram wouldn't believe this. And so, the pitra says, the Sindhu river running nearby will bear witness to this. That we have received the offerings. The cow that is nearby would also bear witness to this. In those days of Treta Yuga, Sat Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, the cow could have spoken. It sounds crazy. Baba telling me the cow could talk. Cow can't talk. But if I tell the parrot say something, you believe that because we know the parrot could talk. Likewise, in those days, the cow could have spoken. Shri Ram returned. Sita Devi tells him, I have already performed the rituals and the ancestors, the Pitra Devtas has received everything. He begins to laugh. He goes and repeats the offerings and the Pitras arrive again and they ask, but Ram, why are you performing the rituals again when Sita already performed the rituals? But when Sita had asked the cow to tell them, the cow refused to speak. The Devta in the Sindhu river refused to speak. And now Sita tells to the cow, because you refuse to speak for what is truth and what is right, you will not be able to talk again. Your mouth will always be dirty. Have you ever noticed how cow mouth is always? But the gobar will be pure and divine. She says to the Sindhu river, the Devta there, you didn't serve a purpose, so hence you will now run beneath the surface of the earth. Today science is proving that there is a river in India that runs beneath the surface of the earth. And so, my dear friends, performing the rituals for Raja Dasaratha, the soul is now beginning its beautiful journey to the lok of Dharamraj. Ek baar bole Krishna Bhagwan ki, Satya Sanatan Dharma ki jai. Very beautifully this evening, our Pravachan has taught us karma. Karma, my dear friends, what goes around, comes around. Be careful of the decisions that you make in life, because every decision that we make, they are what? Consequences that we must face. Before making decision, think twice. Make sure it's the right decision, a correct decision that you are making in life. Ek baar bole Shri Krishna Bhagwan ki, live a life dedicated to God, so at the end of the cycle of life, you would attain whom? Bhagwan. Bole Satya Sanatan Dharma ki jai. This time, Bhai Kishanji will lead us in a beautiful bhajan before we conclude our satsang this evening.
सीता के राम, राधा के श्याम, मीरा के गिरधर नागर, सूर के घनश्याम। सीता के राम, राधा के श्याम, मीरा के गिरधर नागर, सूर के घनश्याम। सीता के राम, राधा के श्याम। जग का पाप मिटाया, महलों का सुख चोर सिया ने राम का साथ निभाया। लक्ष्मी ने घर रूप सिया का जग का पाप मिटाया। ओ भना दिनाता इस दर के तो राम भक्त का नाम। सीता के राम, राधा के श्याम, मीरा के गिरधर नागर, सूर के घनश्याम। सीता के राम, राधा के श्याम। राधा ने श्री श्याम सुंदर संग ऐसा रास रचाया, तीन लोक में श्याम और राधा का रूप समाया। राधा ने श्री श्याम सुंदर संग ऐसा रास रचाया, तीन लोक में श्याम और राधा का रूप समाया। ओ कोटि कोटि भक्तों के मुख पर राधे का श्याम। हरे राम ओ राम राम हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। ओ हरे राम 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 हरे हरे, हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे। महलों का सुख चौरसिया ने राम का साथ निभाया, लक्ष्मी ने घर रूप सिया का जग का पाप मिटाया। महलों का सुख चौरसिया ने राम का साथ निभाया, लक्ष्मी ने घर रूप सिया का जग का पाप मिटाया। ओ भगत नाथा इस धरती तो राम भक्त का नाम, सीता के राम राधा के श्याम, मीरा के गिरगना कर सूर्य के घनश्याम। सीता के राम राधा के श्याम, मीरा के गिरगना कर सूर्य के घनश्याम। सीता के राम राधा के श्याम, सीता के राम राधा के श्याम, सीता के राम राधा के श्याम।
बोले श्री कृष्ण भगवान की जय। मेरे devotees and bhaktas, let us all join in a beautiful chant before we terminate this evening pravachan. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hari Bol 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 Hari Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Let us all clasp our hands together. Let us close the physical eyes as we join in prayer. Om Mantrahinam Kriyahinam Bhaktihinam Jaladanam Yat Pujitam Maya Deva Paripurnam Tarasrame Kahena Vacha Manasindreva Buddhyatmanava Prakritim Subhautam Karome Yakya Sakalam Parashme Narayanayate Samarapayami. Together. Tvameva Mata Chapita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhu Chasaka Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Shanti Om Om Shanti Om Om Shanti Om Shanti Om. It is said, don't think of him as gone away. His journey is just begun. Life holds so many facts, the earth is only one. Just think of him as resting from the sorrows and the tears in a place of warmth and comfort where there are no days and years. Think how he must be wishing that we could know today how nothing but our sadness can really pass away. And think of him as living in the hearts of those he touched, for nothing loved is ever lost, and he was loved so much. Om Shanti Om 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 Om Shanti Om. Hari Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. सियापति रामचंद्र की, वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की, सत्य सनातन धर्म की जय जय सीताराम. My dear devotees and bhaktas, let me take the opportunity to of course say a special thank you to Randi ji joining with us this evening on Dolak, to the man who controls the wind, to Vayu Devta on the dantal this evening. To Vayu, special thank you. To Nirmal ji, and of course to Beba, the PA system, to Bhai Kishan, and of course Media Concepts 29 for taking our devotion this evening to the home of many devotees. Bhagwan's blessings. Let me also say thank you to the members of this family for giving us the opportunity to join with you guys once more again in devotion and of course in satsang. Until then, Jai Sitaram.